Before we get started, this video is sponsored by FaB Foundry, one of the first Flesh and Blood specialized game stores in the world, a pillar of the local FaB community in Portland, Oregon, a world tour organizer, and my personal favorite LGS. FaB Foundry is your one-stop shop for all things FaB related, whether that's singles, sealed product, playmats, sleeves, dice and tokens, especially featuring products from Metal FaB and Thai cards. FaB Foundry also offers a rewards program which you can use to get store credit back on all your purchases. So please go check out FaB Foundries, support our local community in Portland, and use our promo code FleshandBad for a discount on your next singles order.
5. I'll stay.
I suggest you hit, sir.
I also like to live dangerously.
Hey everyone, welcome back to More Flesh and Bad, and today we're going to be playing some Betsy. So it's been a little bit since we played some Betsy on the channel. I think we've actually had maybe 2 sets since the last Betsy video, something like that. But anyways, I wanted to try to kind of make a new Betsy deck based on kind of like the new cards from Master Pack Guardian. Now, Master Pack Guardian didn't give us a ton for Betsy, much like some of the other Guardians like Jarl and Bravo. But I think it's enough to actually like warrant maybe trying some things out. So that's what we're going to do today. So the cards that I want to test out today are mainly Seismic Eruption. That's probably like the biggest boon to Guardian. And we also have some of the like Guardian auras from the Tellurian Community College like product, the four player whatever product. But anyways, these auras I haven't actually played in a long time. They're pretty fun actually. Like I had a Bravo deck at one point that was playing these mostly as a meme, but like I don't know. I feel like these are actually like the most interesting Guardian cards they've printed in a very long time. Ignoring kind of like the Master Pack Guardian stuff. But yeah, I'm super excited to play this list. We are also running Leave Event. So this is actually one of the cards that I wanted to test from the new set, which is kind of like there's like a lot of value in this card. Like you get to basically functionally like mill 4. It's just the question of obviously whether or not you get to hit with the crush. I think it's interesting. I want to try it out. I'm not gonna say that this is going to be like a card that like maybe like make or breaks Betsy, right? But there's kind of like an interesting like value proposition to this card. It's like almost like you can put a righteous cleansing effect on like any card you want. And it gets a lot better obviously when you're doing like tower stuff as well. For other cards, I think we're running Solid Ground, and for the most part, just a standard kind of Betsy list, running some Money Where Your Mouth Is, just for the gold generation. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I've also had like a Gravy sideboard. I don't have any AB for like the Verdance matchup or anything, because I think that matchup's probably unwinnable even with AB, but maybe Gravy is like slightly more winnable, so we'll take a little bit for Gravy. Yeah, with that, let's go ahead and get into the games. All right, so we're playing against Brick. It's playing against Slippy. I think we want Chapeau still. And then maybe just bring in a couple D-Reacts over what? What's bad into Slippy? Not a ton. You could actually probably bring in the Spinals. I'll give him a good look, have fun. What do we actually want to like board out against Slippy? Maybe we don't really need the... I mean, like the bearings are cute, but like maybe we don't fully need them. Maybe it's actually like the bet bigs that we don't need. And then maybe like the pummels also are like a little extra. Let's run like 62 like this and see how that goes. All right, so our plan is to try to play out a crash down on turn 0 and then just like Arsenal pass. Okay, if they're just going to give us some filtering here, I think that's fine. I'm going to hold on to the Visage just in case we need it. I think blocking with the Leave It and the Terra Sender is kind of funny. I'm imagining here they're just going to like flick knife. Okay, no, maybe opting to just keep the knives. Also reasonable. So that's actually a really clunky Slippy hand they probably got there. So... we can't really imposing Visage for anything meaningful. I think the play is to just pitch it to play at a crash down, and then we can maybe blow up the flick knives in turn 0, which is pretty funny, but I don't even know if that's all that good necessarily. It's good in terms of meme value, but beyond that, questionable, I guess. So we need to hold on to 2 blues here. I think they might have passed priority too fast. Yeah, okay. They passed priority a little bit too fast there. All right, pitching 2 Infects. Very interesting opening hand from Slippy. I think we're just supposed to say no blocks, and we should be expecting a Clave here. I don't think it's that bad. Like, they're going to get a bit of damage on us, but we don't really care about necessarily vanilla damage. All right, there's the Leave No. So, question is, can we do everything? So the problem is we can't wager is the only problem. We can just send him for 13. So we aren't starting with any gold. It would really be nice if like Betsy kind of had like a similar thing to like the Olympia spec where you can just like block with it. I think I'll go for maybe just some armor block. What we could also do on this turn is just like rouse into like a spinal. It's also another option. Is that better? That might be better. Let's go ahead and just give a little bit of armor here. I think this is fine. May actually should have given the tech plating over the gauntlets there, but that's probably okay still. All right, go ahead and play our rouse. Let's get a little bit extra value here. Like problem is we're not getting dominate, which is a bit awkward. We could also just send in the tower. The tower actually might just like eat their hand. It might be better than the spinal. So we have 2 seismics, we have two floating, so I think this works. It's a pretty good opening turn. Like if we can just get them to block with their entire hand here, and then like maybe give us like crown or something, that might be a pretty okay position. I feel like the correct play for them is maybe to just like eat 14 and let their flick knives go. One thing about Colossal Bearing that I'm curious about, I was thinking about Gravy, right? I don't think this works on Gravy's Compass, right? Destroying equipment they control with 1 or less power, base block. Because I think the Compass doesn't have any block, so I don't think this applies to it. Someone let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So I think they're going to just block out here and then maybe give us like D-React. I think that's fine. Yep, seems reasonable. So with this deck, what you kind of want to do is do like on turn, off turn, where you're like taking a turn off to do something and then taking a turn on to kind of like do something else. So what do we want to do here? We have a Seismic Surge. I think we're just going to try to drink him under the table, right? So we block with the Choke Slam. We're going to have to pitch the Seismic, but that's maybe fine. We could also, if we play the Seismic, we're technically gaining a resource, which we can then use for Tectonic Plating. So you have 4 here, we do have 1 extra, so I think it's actually better to play the Seismic. Unless we're worried about like deck density, but I think we're probably not too worried about that in this game. So let's Seismic before end step. And then we'll make a new Seismic, and then drink wager. Start getting that going. We do need a little bit of gold generation at some point. Like a Money Your Mouth is at some point would be quite nice. But yeah, we'll just drink them. We'll wager, so we get the extra overpower plus the added benefit here. We're not going to be discarding cards, so also really good. Just net value for us, even if they block it. So kind of fine with this. We might be seeing like another react here or something. All right, so they discard a Art of Desire Body. Pretty good for us. So next turn, what's our play? We can, theoretically, we could tear us under a spinal at them. It's one funny play. Do we want to give Civics here? I'm like halfway tempted. I also like don't feel like we really need to block this. There's also a play where like tear us under a Chokeslam, which was also pretty decent against Slippy. I think we're just saying no blocks here. They don't have a Bonds in graveyard yet, so we don't have to worry about Bonds of Agony off of like recurring night or not. No, what was that card? I always forget. Take Up the Mantle. That's the card I always forget. Okay, just coming in with a nice fair Bonds of Agony. Seems pretty good. How much do I want to respect this? So they can take. So if they take Terra Sunder, they can take the Solid Ground. Is there anything we really care about them taking here? Maybe not. Maybe we're just supposed to let this hit, and then they can take our last Chokeslam out of the deck, our last Leave a Dent out of the deck, or all of our tears or all of our Solid Grounds or whatever. I feel like I should just like make them use it here, right? There's no real sense in blocking. Like I think it's clear that there's probably like a Destinic in Arsenal. We could block that if we wanted to. But I feel like not blocking is like kind of fine. Make him have it. I'm assuming this is Destinic plus Black Tech plus Flick, in which case I'm kind of fine with that. Seems good. I don't want to just like overblock and then they can pass. Like I think this is actually kind of a fine hand to make them use stuff here. Like, it doesn't just fall apart if they take any one single card. I feel like the correct play might actually be, from their perspective, to take the Chokeslam. Yep, coming in for a nice fair 9 here. Not the end of the world. We're gonna be milling a bunch. When you, also, like, funny thing about this card, like, when you compare this card to just, like, Assassin in general, right? It's like, what are we doing here? We have to, like, pay 0. We have to pay a full card to get a crush effect, which is, like, already not an on-hit. And then you get, I guess, 4 more mills, but, like, every Assassin card has, like, banish the top card of your deck stapled onto it. I don't know. I think there are some interesting cards in this set, but I don't know how impactful they're going to end up being. I'm hopeful that, like, the new Guardian set will, or, like, the new Super Slam set will give a little bit of support. Although there has been a recent track record, I guess, of them printing a lot of, like, support for the new Guardians as opposed to, like, old Guardians. It feels like old Guardians tend to get left by the wayside, but we'll see. Maybe they'll give us a little bit of support this set. Okay, seems like they're going to take the Terra Sunder, which makes sense. I don't think that really changes much from our perspective. So Leave a Dent is interesting. Could actually just, like, Chokeslam here, pay into the Blood Rot, which would save us 2. Alternatively, we can, like, make a new Seismic. I feel like making a new Seismic's not incredibly necessary. Let's force some blocks here. This Chokeslam might be pretty good for us. And, like, maybe we're also, like, feigning a pummel here. Seems good. Alright, so they are Chokeslam, so we don't have to worry about any reacts this turn, and we'll go ahead and pay with the Solid Ground. So they took all our Terra Centers out of the deck, which is fine for us. I don't think it's that bad. So our play here is probably going to be, like, block 6, Seismic plus Spinal or something. Seems pretty good. There is also a play we can do of Imposing Visage for one of our auras. And then we can, like, just Titan's Fist and do a setup turn. Although there is, like, a little bit of risk to doing that. So I would say that's definitely on the riskier side. I think we're just going to take a bit of damage here then. Alright, coming in with the Art Desire Body. So I can't pump this, so I feel like we maybe should just, like, block out a little bit. Let's go ahead and block, I think, with the Imposing Visage. I feel like I'd rather just, like, maybe send, like, a Spinal or a Disable next turn. Or maybe just block with another card if they send some other threat after this. Might be another Codex here. Yeah, makes sense. Let's go ahead, I think, just, like, give up Disable plus Gauntlets, and then just send a Spinal on our turn. Put them on 2 cards. Or I guess 3 cards, technically, with an Arsenal. Then we'll go ahead and set up that up. So they have 1 Codex left. I think they pitched... Did they pitch a Codex earlier? I can't remember. They might have. But overall, I'd say we're not in terrible shape. They do have to give... If they have a react here, they have to give a second react. Losing 1 on the Spinal does hurt a little bit, I feel like. Maybe makes it a little bit easier for them to block out. Alright, so maybe I have another react here. Seems good. Still have a bit of armor to work with, so I'm not too concerned. We functionally are at, like, a 9-point kind of lead-ish, if you don't think about it too hard. Alright, Kiss of Death is pretty good. I feel like we're just saying no blocks here, right? Play around Tarantula. Let them do whatever. So most likely they're going to flick here, in which case we'll probably just give up Sync, just in case they end up having... actually, we should put the Tectonic Plating on 1. I think that's better than the Chapeau, because we don't want to block with the Chapeau as much. So they were going to block 2 here if they have just Nick from Arsenal that we can cover with the Sync. If they don't have anything, then we're fine. So, played around the Just Nick at least. Alright, click the Kiss for some additional damage, seems good. Alright, pass here. double react. I think we're fine actually keeping this hand just so we can like wager a Titan's Fist. It's not the best use of our resources, but it's better than nothing, I feel like. It will probably set us up with a gold, which might be useful on a future turn. Oh shit, we don't have a... Hold on, sorry, we actually can't make a seismic here because we're not discounting anything with the Titan's Fist, right? So we actually have to money room out this, then Titan's Fist, and then wager this. Still coming in for 8, which is nice. Haven't found many of our other aura cards, which I kind of think are pretty good. We've only seen one of them. Alright, seems like they're just going to block out the overpower, makes sense. Alright, another Codex. Pretty solid for them. Fortunately for us, we do have the sink below, so what we can do is get like Colossal Bearing here. And then we actually maybe just want to give Drinkum so that we can wager. That actually might be better. So we'll discard, I guess like Macho, and then just like sink below here, set up a crash down, and make them play through a 5-card hand. Which is generally pretty easy for Slippy. But I think that getting this set up will probably put us in a decent spot. Especially if they have any number of reacts in hand, which we still haven't seen 4 of functionally. Assuming that's all they're running. Alright, a little bit of an awkward hand. We don't quite have the resources to do everything we want to do here. So we can wager this, but we can't give it overpower. Oh, they did get a gold off that, which is unfortunate. So yeah, I think we're just going to be taking some damage here. Right, into Art of Desire. I think we need a gamble on this, just like not hitting. If it does hit, they might not even have the action points to use all their cards this turn, so I think we'll take the chance there. Unfortunately, we are rewarded with the Cranial Crush. And coming in with an Infiltrate to finish it off. So I feel like we maybe just do have to give some amount of block here, just so we don't die. Like, in case it's like a Spike with Blood Rod or something. So we can money room out this, pitch the Earth Lore, and then pitch these to drink them. A little bit of an unfortunate hand, but not the end of the world. Let's think this is probably the block. Maybe we should just give the Civic Step block, because if they start their turn with a Quicken token, then they're Slippy, so they're always going to functionally start their turn with a Quicken token. Go ahead and just save our life total a little bit here. Alright, they get a Cranial Crush, but I don't know how much that actually is going to matter. Let's go ahead and money where your mouth is, and then just drink them. I feel like they're incentivized to just like block out, and even if they do block out, we might still just hit them anyways. So I think this is fine for us, honestly. Let's go ahead and then drink them. If we had just one more blue, this would have been a lot better. But yeah, we'll definitely wager here. It seems unlikely that they'll be able to block out. Wait, actually, hold on. Sorry. Whoops. I think we didn't wager. Do I want to pay 2? Hold on. Let me make sure I actually like set this up correctly. So we money where your mouth is, and then we can drink them. I want to make sure I'm double wagering here. This attacks here, you may wager, and then this is when you attack here, you may wager. I want to make sure I just didn't miss the wager there. Right, so we wager this, we say yes, we say no to that, and then we wager for that, and then we say no. Okay. Seems pretty good. Hopefully not double D-react. God, why is overpower so bad? So now they get a card. Oh, rough. There's almost no way they had double D-react there, right? I mean, I guess they could still, like, block. Assuming that they didn't have D-react from Arsenal, that would have been a lot better. I don't know. Maybe we got punished. That's fine, though. When it enters arena, when you deal damage. So I think we're just going to Leyline here, and then Thunderquake. Sure, I guess. It's fine. Could also play this out last turn and then just play the Macho. But yeah, I think Overpower, unfortunately, just a little bit too bad this game. There's some turns where if we like strained them with D-Reacts in hand, would have been so much better. Alright, I don't think there's any real way we can block this. So I think we're just choosing to die at this point. I guess we can like give up the Civic Steps. I mean, the Civic Steps is actually kind of bad here. Our hand's also like kind of bad. I think we're just dead. Not the end of the world though, we're playing Betsy. We should, I think, at a baseline, expect to be dead most games, especially against one of the better meta decks right now. Alright, so now we are officially dead on board. And now we're super dead on board. Okay, that's fine though. Alright, first game is a loss, to be expected. I feel like we didn't see a lot of our like better cards that game, and maybe things just like didn't line up. Alright, let's go ahead and see if we can get another one. Can we beat an Oscilio? Remains to be seen, but we'll do our best. So we probably want our Spinals. Do we even want our Spinals? I guess we do probably want our Spinals. I imagine this matchup's not great for us, but we'll still give it a try anyways. I think we don't probably need our Pummels in this matchup. Maybe we kind of leave a dent. The card has not exactly been impressive today. Let's try it like this, see how it goes. Alright, so we have a couple options on this hand. We can Tear Asunder and then like Arsenal the Bearing here, or alternatively, we can Tear Asunder. I guess the only play is like Colossal Bearing plus money where your mouth is. Would be actually pretty likely to hit, but giving them gold is like a little bit risky. Let's just go for the Tear Asunder, I think, turn 0. Or turn 1, I guess, for us. I think Bearing's like a pretty good arsenal if we can like blow up Greaves. Alright, if we're able to get 5 cards here plus armor, maybe I'm fine with this. If we get comboed on turn 0, it's a little bit unfortunate, but they're only going to have 4 cards to work with here, so maybe not actually that bad for us. Alright, we do have the Earthlore Empowerment also set up. So question is, what do we want to do here? I feel like maybe the play is actually just block with Chokeslam, maybe block with the Macho, and then just set up Earthlore on our turn. I think that seems reasonable. Alright, they do have the blink, so they will functionally give this go again. Bouncing the Sigil, so looks like they maybe have a pretty good turn ahead of them. Try to use our armor as a resource here, though. Let's go ahead and give them, I guess, like the Steel Braid Buckler. It's kind of a tongue twister. And then maybe also Tech Plating here, just to save a little bit of life. Oscilios tend to be a little bit more arcane heavy, especially into slower decks. So I feel like giving up armor, even this early, is kind of fine. Let's go ahead and Tech Plating, pitching the Macho, and then just set up our Earthlore. Then we'll just pass back. Alright, we do have the Eruption, which could be quite nice. If we ever need to like block out and just like play Eruption, we can actually just like send the Bearing off of that, which is cool. Alright, so Blast to Oblivion coming in with Go again. I think we'll maybe just give some more armor here. I guess there's not really a reason to give armor. Let's go ahead and give like Bet Big, I think is fine. So they're going to discard, bounce, Sigil Brilliance. So it looks like we're on like a 9 Blast to Oblivion deck. Obviously pretty good if you draw the Sigil Brilliance pretty early. Right, coming in with another Blast, which is coming in for 6. Seems pretty good. So we don't have a way to wager, unfortunately. So let's, I guess, give the Spinal here. You can even maybe give the Thunderquake and just go to no cards in hand. And then we can just like play Eruption. Looks like here they're maybe just going to try to set up an Embodiment plus Sigil on board. If we can maybe blow up their Greaves or threaten their Greaves right before the turn, that ends up being pretty good for us, right? I guess we might as well eruption now. There's actually maybe an argument to not eruptioning there in case they had like null shock. But I think this is still fine. Just send in the bearing for 13. And now they're either having to give us lightning greaves, which stops their combo potential, or they're having to give us like another piece of equipment. Both of which I think are, or like they're having to give us like full hand or something. So I'd say this is pretty good. We are to some extent bullying Oscilio, but I think that's kind of fine. All right, 6-card Oscilio hand, but no Greaves. So it could actually be in an okay spot here. Let's go ahead and I think we're just gonna like aim to try to block as much as possible here. So let's go ahead and give Steelblade Buckler plus the bearing and try to play around a CLV, which they're pretty likely to have at this point. All right, so playing out another sigil. Maybe just setting up some embodiments here and getting some good amp on Volzar. I just realized we're also like not running any AB in this matchup, which might even make sense. So they have the Gone. That's fine. I guess we can. Might just be better to like block with the solid ground here. If they want to like blink in response to me, that's also fine. I think we're just gonna go off tempo this hand. It's kind of my plan. They obviously bounce in response to solid ground, but it's functionally the same as playing it. And I guess they wouldn't get the action point or whatever. All right, playing out Sigil of Aether, another Sigil of Aether. All right, definitely maybe regarding the AB choice here. Yeah, lots of sigils here. Very spooky. So their challenge is going to be action points, I feel like, next turn. They are going to be getting a lot of value here. I think I'm kind of surprised they didn't pop the bindings there. You have 3 sigils leaving, so you're at minimum getting M3 and you have a couple draws. It's looking to be a scary turn. All right, so the question is, how are they going to be generating their action points? I feel like I just give up some armor here. All right, so there's first action point. Let's see how wide they can go this hand. All right, they drew 2 cards, but they only were able to use a couple of them there, it looks like. So maybe that's actually not that bad for us. So we can Money Where Your Mouth Is, and then Titan's Fist, or we can send the Chokeslam here. Maybe the Chokeslam is actually better. It does play around the Electro stacks, which we've already seen 3 of. I'm trying to think if there's any other cards playing the Chokeslam plays around. Maybe it's better off just being an Arsenal and us sending 8. And it's a little bit better. Setting up the gold is quite nice. There's maybe merit to like just setting up the gold on this, assuming that they can't block, but then we don't get to overpower it, which is a little unfortunate. And this is why I've been a little bit kind of leaning towards just giving as much armor as possible, because they do have Burn Bearer as well, which is another card that's pretty good against us. All right, another blast. Question is, when, if ever, are we going to give these civic steps? Maybe the answer is actually supposed to be just never. Let's block with our Crash Down, just because we already have the redundant Earth Lore. Could get punished by a Mind Warp here, but other than that, I think it's kind of fine. All right, so we have Current Funnel. I think now actually might be the opportunity to just give the civics here. Save a little bit of life, and the Quicken token might not matter because they're wanting to maybe give something go again off of this anyways. All right, so there's gone. So we did have the redundant go again there. That's good. So worst case scenario is Mind Orb here, but if they play it, there's not a ton we can do about it. So I think we're just going to continue to give armor, keep our life total a little bit higher. Let's see if we end on a spell. No spell is good. So let's go ahead and just set up the Earth Floor and pitch our Grandeur here to set up the Seismic. And we'll basically force them to play through a 5-card hand again. So we have at least one red blast left to worry about, plus some other good stuff. I feel like they've had like a 6-card hand like every turn in this game, which is kind of crazy. We're almost halfway through the deck too, which is kind of nuts. So we're looking here to keep 2 blues in hand, assuming we get the luxury. Oh, they're just going to go for a burn pair. All right, I think this is actually really good for us. I think I am very happy with just below rate vanilla damage. So let's go ahead and then Tear Asunder, and this should hopefully be game. I feel like maybe a little bit of a low roll on our opponent's side. So we can afford to make a Seismic here because we have the functionally 2 Seismics. And then we can wager... Oh, no, we don't... whoops, sorry, hold on. We don't get to wager. We should good time Chapeau. Then we get to wager. We'll pay 2 and get this overpower. So we got nice little overpower, dominate, on hit, discard 2 cards. I'd say that's pretty good. All right, we can beat Oscilio, which bodes well. I feel like some of our other games we didn't do so hot. All right, let's do one last one, see how it goes. Playing against a Jarl. See if we can maybe beat another Guardian here. So I think the setup, we actually probably do want to Nothos in this matchup. Then we'll bring in the Spinal, or I think we'll bring in the Sync Blows. I feel like the Spinal is probably unnecessary though. Let's run it like this, I think. Seems good enough. It's probably going to be a grindier one, but we'll see how it goes. All right, double Earthlore Empowerment. So I think we're going to pitch one of these away. Maybe just Arsenal the Leave It Out, because it's kind of funny. All right, it seems like we're playing against a Stalagmite Enjoyer, or a Summit Enjoyer, which is exciting. I don't think I've played against a Summit Jarl in a while. So next turn, we've got a couple plays. We can like Rouse the Ancients. I guess we can't even really Rouse the Ancients. We're probably just wanting to send like Thunderquake or Macho or something. Actually, Macho's pretty good, right? We get to like make a Seismic, pitch 2 blues. That seems pretty decent. It seems like they're going to pitch away some of their Earth cards because they're a little bit awkward. That's fine for us, though. We can just pitch a Rouse. And now we get to send a pretty big Macho at them with a Levidan on it. All right, I want to resolve this card at least once. We put it in the deck. It's gotta at least do something, right? So we're coming in for big chunk here, 13. It's not even good. They block a decent amount of that already. Guess we might as well just threaten the Levidan. This card kind of makes me a little bit sad just when I compare it to like other cards in the game. It's basically like a 0 for 3, kind of do nothing. Assuming your opponent already wants to block. Oh, it did something. It fueled their Decompose. Oh, God. Why? At least the funny thing for us is they pitched 2 Fellings. But I feel like that Levidan was actually maybe potentially beneficial for our opponent there. All right, well, we can afford to block out this first Oakenold. We would have to give up a bit of armor, though, and maybe we don't want to do that. So we were just blocking with the Colossal Bearing, getting hit by this, and then just sending a Nothos for 4. I think it's pretty reasonable. I feel like there's no real reason to just give them a counter. Let's do bottom. We'll just let them have their little point of value there. Yeah, that Levidan was like, I feel like actively bad for us. Although we did get rewarded by the Unforgiving there at least. If they had the last turn, then they get to tutor for a Mangle, and then maybe it's a little bit worse for us. I feel like the one thing Betsy has historically actually been good at is at least the Guardian Mirror. Alright, just going for the Arctic Incarceration, which I can't say we're too unhappy about. So I think here we're just going to pitch the Grandeur plus the Rouse, and then pay for all these Frostbites. And then I think Unfortunately, Leave the Dent also does not pump our Anothos, which is kind of sad. I guess we will go for the wager here. Pretty unlikely that Jarl's able to use the gold in the first place, so I think it's fine even if we lose. Definitely would have liked this Nothos to come in for a little bit more, I'd say, but that is, I guess, the cost of running this card. Unfortunate. I do also seed, so they do get their gold. That's fine, though. We're just going to try to play the long game here, I think. All right, Coronet Peak we are A-okay with. Might actually just be heaving a Thunderquake next turn. Or no, I guess we can't. We don't have the resources to do that. That's fine, then. We'll just go ahead and overpitch. I guess we don't make a seismic. Maybe we just want to arsenal the solid ground just in case. We did draw our eruption, which is quite nice, which will discount that. And then we have the colossal bearing. We won't get to wager it though, which is unfortunate. So I think we're actually supposed to seismic eruption now. It's definitely a pretty good CLF for them. Yeah, I feel like the seismic eruption now is actually correct. Now we'll see what their follow-up play is. All right, just to summit for 4 seems fine. So we're gonna basically pay 1 extra using the sink below here. And we can actually, so we're not wagering. This will cost 5. So I think we have enough for a tectonic plating activation, right? We do this and then we send the bearing. Seems pretty good. We are threatening their well-grounded at least, so they are incentivized to block this. It doesn't have overpower or anything, but that's fine. Yeah, if Betsy had like some onboard way, like I guess they're kind of giving Olympia now. I feel like it would be pretty exciting to like maybe instead of your chess piece being like tectonic plating, you can have like a gold chess piece. That would be pretty sweet. I feel like it would help her at least kind of like viability a little bit more. But I guess maybe that's more flavorful for Olympia because he's like the armor hero, I guess. Some easier way for Betsy to generate gold would be quite nice, though. All right, so they're going to go to full decompose here. But not the end of the world. So we do get to blow up their legs, which is great. And then we'll see what the follow-up is here. Just a Coronet Peak. Okay, we have the 8 Coronet Peak. So in that case, what do we want to do? Probably just remake Seismic and then maybe just go for the Drinkum. So yeah, we'll pay 1 to avoid discarding, and then reset up our Seismic, and then just Drinkum, which literally has no downside. And we won't pay for it as well. So basically just 8 on hit discard. Seems pretty alright. I guess they do technically get to draw a card if they block it out. I think I'm maybe fine with that, honestly. I feel like a random card draw in Jarl is not necessarily anything to write home about. Right, lots of armor out of the way. I think that's pretty good for us, and we're preserving our own armor as well. I feel like worst case scenario would be like an open old pummel here. We haven't seen any pummels, actually. They might not even be on them. Right, but there's the open old. Right, it's Crumble in hand. Bunch of other unknown cards. Could just say no blocks to this and see what happens, but I feel like we're actually probably supposed to like try to contest the pummel here. So how do we block pummel? We block with Gauntlet, so we need to block 13. We have 5 in Arsenal. This is functionally 3, so 3, 8. And then we need 5 more, so we give a blue. We do something like this. I think this blocks it. Or no, we still need one more. We need the tech plating as well. So I think it's something like this. And then I guess maybe we're... Maybe we're actually not even supposed to give the gauntlets. Maybe it's actually better to do block, block, block 5. So you can already block the pummel here anyways. Maybe we just like give civics instead. Maybe this is the play. Kind of like something like this a bit. I guess the problem is our like eruption's not even going to be discounting anything. It's kind of awkward. I guess we can like set up leyline pass as another play. Okay, this actually works out fine for us then. Maybe I was overthinking that a little too much. That's okay though. So let's play our leyline. And then we'll make a seismic and then just eruption so that we have our dereact online. Then we'll just pass back. So they probably don't have a pummel there. Or maybe they just wanted to hold back because they were afraid that we could block it. Also possible. Still do have to worry about Remembrance and those 2 fellings we saw pitched pretty early. But fellings next to each other is not necessarily a great thing for Jarl. We are a bit worried about this Quicken, though. Quicken definitely could come back to haunt us a bit. Right, there's the gauntlets. Pitching the crumble, so maybe trying to hit us with a mangle here. So they do get go again on this, which is also a bit annoying. In which case we should probably just give the second charge of the civic steps. Plus, I guess maybe tectonic plating or something. Block like this, and then we can solid ground to cover the crush effect. I imagine we're probably getting ground here or cornet peaked here, which I don't think we care about all that much. Yep, seems good. So we'll go ahead, I think, just pitch one of our blues. So we have 5 resources here, plus another 3 here, so we have 8. So we can wager plus pummel, which is great. Or no, we can't wager plus pummel because one of these seismics doesn't really count as a resource, right? Or actually, let's undo. Hold on. Let's tech plating first. So the seismics don't technically count as resources, so we can't use the seismics to like pay for Betsy, for instance. So in this case, I think it's just better to drink them under the table to overpower. We could actually end up discarding our pummel here, though. So maybe there's a better play. Maybe the better play was to just pummel, not overpower. And then we're kind of like forced into, I guess, a similar situation. I don't know. Not sure which one's better there. Right, looks like they're just going to get their summon online. All right, seeds will be a good block. So now we're unfortunately having to discard this pummel. A little unfortunate for us, but not the end of the world. I feel like maybe the better play there was just go for the pummel. Yeah, it's probably too greedy to go for overpower on that. Right, what's the play here? I think we're just going to try to keep 2 blues, refresh our seismic, and then drink them. Take a little bit of damage here. I feel like this game has definitely turned a corner for our Jarl friend here. Got a lot of back-to-back really good plays, I feel like. But hopefully this drink is at least pretty good for us. If we get a discard here, plus another seismic, I think that's a pretty big deal for us. If we whiff here, that would be unfortunate. Alright, Seismic Eruption's a nice draw. Definitely could be pretty good if they try to go for like a CNC or something. Crashdown, also a pretty nice one. Maybe a little bit awkward with the next hand though. So we have 2 seismic set up. Probably just want to go for the choke slam here. So I think we're actually supposed to just like pay with the crash down. I guess let's pay. What do we want to pay with instead? Maybe paying with the sync blow is better because we're more likely to block with the crash down, assuming they have like a CNC or something. Right, this is also fine. Let's go ahead and pay, I guess, with the solid ground now. A little bit weird. All right, discarding of fruits. So now we can eruption, end of turn. And now we can just play out the choke slam. I feel like we should just try to keep our ley line around for as much as possible, though. So maybe making the seismic there is actually correct as opposed to arsenaling the crash down. I feel like crash down is also like kind of a whatever arsenal target. I think this is still fine though. All right, so you have to worry about 2 more fellings and then some Oakenolds still left, or 1 Oakenold still left, I think. We are getting a decent amount of value from this ley line at least. All right, another Winter's Bite. So jumping was pretty good here. Let's go ahead and pitch, I guess, like the Rouse here. All right, into the Summit Swing. Yep, definitely a pretty good turn for them. So that is the last Winter's Bite, or do they have 1 more? They do have 1 more Winter's Bite. Eventually, they are going to run out of stuff. So, like, maybe we're incentivized to just, like, keep blocking and setting up seismics. The alternate play is that we, like, set up a crash down and maybe, like, Arsenal, or, like, pitch this to refresh the seismic. I feel like the value proposition on that's pretty bad. I feel like let's just try to play towards a more fatigue endgame, especially when we're kind of like ahead on life. Like maybe just taking like a off turn like this is actually kind of fine. They'll run out of disruption kind of eventually. Like they can only have so many, like especially with a deck that's running a lot of like of Arctic incarceration effects. Like we can kind of afford to go off tempo a bit. All right, you get another crumble, which is nice. So that will take us off functionally 2 life. All right, another Winter's Bite is definitely getting a little bit annoying. Let's, I guess, pitch the Terrace under here so that we're floating 1 for the Coronet Peak. All right, and they're just going to Arctic Incarceration, which means that we're probably just going to take a little bit of an off turn here. So I guess we're just like refreshing the seismic, passing back. I mean, they're kind of like time walking us, but they're like using 2 cards to do so. So I'm kind of actually maybe okay with that exchange. They do need to find a way to like kill us. So we're kind of forcing them into a scenario where they have to figure out how to find lethal. All right, Summit coming in with Dominate. Spooky. I guess we could theoretically like give up Chapeau plus this. We could also just take this, but is our hand any good, or is our hand like worth saving? Probably actually is worth saving, right? We can like set up a seismic. So maybe taking the 6 here is actually fine if we can just set up the Earth Lore. I think this does make sense. We are definitely banking on this Earth Lore not whiffing, which is sometimes a bit of a gamble. But we don't whip here, which is nice. We can pitch a blue here, and then we can still be left with Choke Slam and then like sink below, assuming that they have like another Winter's Bite or something. But I think that was their last one, so they might be a little constrained for resources. We'll see what they do. I feel like there's a lot of good options with this hand. Probably one of the better hands we could have drawn. I feel like worst case scenario is just like the last Oaken. Maybe that's like what we're most worried about. Or Felling is, I guess, also bad, but not completely unsalvageable. Pummel would be really bad, but we've not seen a single Pummel yet. So they might not even be running it. Oh, I think we're going to have to gamble that they don't have Pummel. They're running like a cheeky 1-0. We probably actually lose. But I think it's still correct to block here. Like, we haven't seen a single ones, and a lot of Jarl lists just like aren't running it in general. So I think that was a gamble worth taking at least. Refresh your seismic and send in 13. Seems pretty good for us. This is pretty strong if we get them to just like block out with their full hand or something like that. I feel like that would be a pretty good turn for us. Because we are winning in terms of deck. Now we just kind of need to win in terms of life. The summit will go quite a ways in terms of potentially getting them some fatigue value, though. Right, Plowender out of the way is also a pretty big threat gone. It looks like we're maybe even hitting here, so we get a second surge. Seems pretty good to me. Kind of curious what their follow-up is. Maybe just the summit. Okay, if it's just summit, what do we want to do? That's a good question. I feel like we're... So can we money where your mouth is plus bet big? If we cycle the sink below and find a blue, that's an option. Because we can't do it as is. Or we can't do everything. I feel like maybe we're actually supposed to just give the remainder of the armor plus the sink here and just try to filter towards a better card so we can like kind of tempo them a bit, and that's actually a really good draw. So we have 8 functionally. This costs 2. We can money where your mouth is and then make a seismic. So yeah, this is perfect for us. So we money, and then we overpower on the bet big, or we wager on the bet big. Wager, get +2. And I guess we might as well wager for the bet big as well. Hoping this hits. If it doesn't hit, not the end of the world also. All right, so we get a lot of things there. We get a vigor, a might, and an extra gold. So I'd say pretty good for us. So it looks like they're going to go for the infinite Everbloom life thing. Makes sense. They're coming in with the summit. Do we care about the summit, though? I guess is the question. We can send Macho for 10 plus make a Frostbite, which I think is pretty good. Or this is Macho for 9. Maybe it's actually just better. So we have 3 resources here. Maybe it's just better to send like Thunderquake and block 6 on this. The only problem is we're not refreshing the Surge, so our Leyline would die, but maybe the Leyline's actually kind of done enough this game. Could also just like a Nothos if we really wanted to. Nothos, I guess, has its like own problems though. I feel like maybe just like the Cranial Crush is like fine. We do have 2 gold, but we don't have a way to really use it. Yeah, I think we're just sending the Cranial. If it hits, obviously we get to keep Leyline around. And if they have to block 3 cards, then they're not summoning, which is really good for fatigue. So I'd say we're still doing pretty alright this game. I feel like the auras really help a lot in the Guardian Mirror. Is at least what it's felt like. Alright, Felling's a pretty good one. So how are we blocking here? Let's bottom the Grandeur. I guess we're trying to swing in for 4, right? That's our goal. So I guess in that case, we bottom the Rouse, block 6, and then just send the Grandeur here. Seems pretty good. So we have 1 more Felling left, which I think is like this hand right here. Probably have another Batter Repult to worry about, and then maybe 1 other Oakenold somewhere. So I think our last real concern is just the remaining Oakenold. So I think we're going to go ahead and block 6 here and then save the sink for that Oakenold, just so they can't like kill us. We are basically threatening lethal every turn. Alright, double block on that is, I think, fantastic for us. So how many Ice Earth cards do they have? I guess they have the Crumble plus the what's that other card? They have like the D-React. God, it's been so long since I played Jarl. What is that card called? I'll remember it. It's like Pulse of Islaw. That's the card. Okay, so they have that left. What are we doing with this hand? Probably just bottoming like the bet big for later, and then just like blocking 7. That's fine. We can afford to block out, especially when we're kind of like getting lower in terms of deck. Yeah, we could pretty easily block out a summit here. Fortunately, we're gonna have to get rid of our Leave It, which we've not seen do anything at all, unfortunately, which is kind of sad, honestly. Like, I honestly thought this card was going to be at least a little bit better than it was, but like, I don't even think we've been able to use it once, which is the worst. So we can tech plating here, right? Which would cost, or no, we can't tech plating, unfortunately. But we can still just like anote this for 6, and that's fine. All right, we get an Oak and Old block, which is really good. Assuming, unless they have like a Remembrance or something. So they have an Oak and Old in hand, which is definitely spooky. So the block is weird because that means they maybe don't need it, is what they think. All right, they're pitching 2 ice cards here, so that is going to be staying around another turn. We can double Sink Below here if we really wanted to, but that seems excessive. Maybe we're just like blocking 6 here, sending 4. I think that's also fine. We're getting a little bit concerned about fatigue at this point. I think we got like a couple turns and we're still kind of fine. Like, they are having to give us a card every turn, even though we're giving them like 2 cards every turn. But we're still like up a lot on deck size. And they're kind of out of kill conditions other than like Glacial Footsteps. All right. Oh, did they get back a Winter's Bite off of an Everbloom? Oh, maybe I wasn't paying it. I thought they got back an Everbloom off an Everbloom. Yes, so we will pay 1 to avoid discarding here, which would also let us turn on our sink, which is good. So in that case, we should get rid of the Solid Ground, I think. And then we'll block with the Rouse the Ancient, Sink Below from Arsenal. And then I don't think we want to get rid of the Chokeslam. We can just like pitch it here because they're losing the Channel Lake Frigid. So all in all, I'd say it's pretty good. So we'll go ahead and pitch Tech Plating, and then they'll have to give us 2 cards here, or maybe just card plus Coronet Peak. I feel like they're at the point in the game where they really shouldn't be holding on to Coronet Peak, or they shouldn't need to. I think we are fatiguing from this point. Fatiguing them, rather. So if we let the summit hit, what happens? We make a Frostbite, we go to 4, potentially could die to like something, but we can also just like pummel our Nothos. I feel like this might be a case where we can get a little bit greedy, especially with like 2 gold out in the field. We can like cycle this blue. We could also just like be safe and just like a Nothos block 6, Arsenal the pummel, and that's like another pretty reasonable play. Let's, I guess, take the more reasonable line, I think, here. I feel like there's like a greed line there, but like maybe we don't need to get greedy because we're kind of winning anyways, it feels like. Right. Going down to 2 now. All right, Glacial, a little bit spooky, but we can kind of get around that pretty easily. So we'll just block with the Empowerment here. Drop to 5. So they could theoretically kill us with the other Glacial. How many seeds have we seen, actually? That's a good question. We've seen 1 seeds, and we just saw seeds in pitch. I feel like most Jarls are on like 2-ish seeds. So in that case, let's go ahead and try to go for Surprise Lethal. I guess we should actually... Or sorry, hold on. Let's revert here. Let's pitch the Imposing here. I guess we want to hold on to the Money Where Your Mouth Is. then coming for 6, which demands 2 cards. We now just pummel this also. So let's see if they have another react here. If they don't, they might be dead. But yeah, that was the last card I think we were worried about. Oh, we might just have it here. Okay, looks like we just barely got it. I think Betsy historically has been pretty favored in Guardians, so even though our Jarl opponent was playing a little bit of more unconventional build, like I feel like Summit Coronet Peak is like kind of bad. But yeah, anyways, I feel like Betsy has historically been good in Guardian, even if they were running like a more like kind of like streamlined, I guess, like Jarl build. All right, so that was going to be the Betsy deck for today. Again, I think that this style of Guardian deck is a lot of fun, just with the like the aura stuff. I think these are like kind of like the most fun Guardian cards they've printed, at least in like a very long time. We saw Leave It In today, and the only time that we actually saw it resolve, it was like beneficial for opponent, but maybe it helped us in terms of like fatigue value against the Jarl towards the end. I don't know. I still think this card is like basically unplayable, which is unfortunate. I think the effect is like really interesting. It's a majestic, but just the stat line and like the value proposition is very poor here. We did see Seismic Eruption. Seismic Eruption, I think, was a pretty decent include just for all the Guardians in the set, just giving you like a decent combat trick and also giving you a bunch of resources. I think like this style of card is like really interesting. Very simple effect. I don't know. I like effects like this, and we also got the nice art from Carlos there. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. So thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I also don't think that this deck can necessarily beat anything in the meta right now. Like Gravy seems borderline impossible, even though we have a sideboard for it. Verdant seems quite bad, and Slippy also seems pretty bad as well. But yeah, to all you Betsy enjoyers out there, stay strong. Believe that in Super Slam that they're going to print us a new weapon that's going to fix all our problems, I believe. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.